is the gift, pass it on. So we'll talk about the gift a little bit later. There was a story that struck my fancy. It was told by the columnist Art Buchwald, and he talked about his friend who wanted to change the world. So let me share a little bit of this story. Leo was his friend's name, and Leo and Art Buchwald were riding in a cab in New York City. And when they got out of the cab, Leo said to the driver, "Thank you for the ride. You did a super job of driving this cab." And the taxi driver seemed stunned for a second and then said, "Are you a wise guy or something?" "No," said Leo, "I'm serious. I admire the way you keep cool in heavy traffic. Not many cab drivers are able to do that. I'm glad I rode in your cab today." Yeah, sure," said the cab driver as he drove off. And Buchwald asked his friend, "What was that about?" "I'm trying to bring love back to the world," said the man. "I believe it's the only thing that can save the world." "You think one man can save the world?" "It's not just one man," said Leo. "I believe I have lightened that taxi driver's day. Suppose he has 20 fares. He's going to be nice to those 20 fares because someone was nice to him. Those fares in turn will be kinder to their employees, shopkeepers and waiters, or even their own families. Eventually, the goodwill could spread to at least 1,000 people. Now that isn't bad, is it? But you're depending on that taxi driver to pass on your goodwill to others." I'm going to interrupt myself to say goodbye to our young ones who are off to the movie. Have a lovely, lovely time. And you're taking gifts to share?
Yes.
How lovely. Yay. They're spreading just what I'm talking about here. They are.
They're taking gifts that they've collected. How cute.
Aw.
Precious.
Thanks, Tony. Okay. So, but Leo says you're depending on that taxi driver to pass on your goodwill to others. Maybe he won't, said Leo, but I might say something nice to 10 different people today. If out of the 10 I can make 3 happy, then I can indirectly influence the attitude of 3,000 or more. "You're some kind of nut," Buchwald said to his friend. "That shows how cynical you've become. Take postal workers, for instance. The reason so many of them hate their work is because no one is telling them that they're doing a good job. But they aren't doing a good job. They're not doing a good job because they don't believe anyone cares if they do it," replied Leo. And so it went. They talked about postal drivers, they talked about construction workers, they talked about a woman who was a school teacher, and Leo was doing his very best to change the world, one person at a time. So I had a lovely experience this week myself. I went shopping for a gift, and I went to a store that I couldn't find what I was looking for there. And the woman who owned the store very generously suggested and referred me to another store. And I thought, how lovely that was. So I went to the other store, and I had an encounter with this woman who was just the light. She was touching people in such a lovely way. She and I had one of those conversations that was heartfelt, sharing values around the holidays. She was entirely different than me. She was a different ethnicity. She was young. She was hip. She had this child, and she just exuded light and sweetness. So when we parted, she asked for a hug, and of course, you know, I was delighted to do that. She touched my life, and I think that in turn, I touched some other people's lives. And I know that when other folks came into her shop, she had that generosity of spirit that really made a difference. So that's what I'm talking about as far as the gift that to share and pass along. It's the gift of the open heart, the light heart, the heart that is showing and shining spirit. And when those two lights come together, they're indistinguishable. It's not my light and someone else's light. It is the light, that divine light that shows through. So, we celebrate the light in this time. There's an African word, Ubuntu, which means I am because you are. You are because I am. Ubuntu. And there's this lovely story about an anthropologist who went to Africa, and he'd done research, and he was ready to go. And he had gotten a basket of candy, and he lined the children all up, and he said to them, now when I say go, you race to that basket, and whoever gets to the basket first gets the candy. And so the children were all lined up, and he said, on your mark, get set, go. And simultaneously, without communication, they took hands and ran. So he said to them, what is that about? And this little girl said, Ubuntu. If one of us is sad, how can the rest of us be happy? And that's the whole concept of the gift of an open heart. If one of us is sad, how can the rest of us be happy? You are because I am because you are. I had this lovely other experience when I was in Puerto Vallarta. These people that I was with, they were shopping for alcohol, liquor, tequila, rum, and that wasn't something that interested me, and I was tired from shopping. So in the liquor store, I found this crate that was turned upside down, and I just sat on it to rest. And the woman who owned the liquor store sat on another carton crate. And somehow, our conversation, this woman from Puerto Vallarta, who owned a liquor store, and me, a minister, we had this conversation about our mothers. I don't know how the conversation turned to that, but you're not surprised to know, in a very short period of time, we were both in tears. So, how different we were, and yet how the same we were. Talking and being together in that open-hearted space, that gift of being open that touched both of us so deeply. So my friends who had purchased the tequila and I started down the street, and in a moment, she came running after me, and she said, wait, here's my card. I can be your friend.
Oh.
And where to find her. So that's what I'm talking about as far as the gift goes. It is the gift of the time and the season. It's the gift of the season of light, not light that pours down. Last week I talked about the darkness. This week I'm talking about the light that comes from the heart, that connects us to all of humankind. And we can talk about our differences, and we can make other people the other, separate, division, divisiveness, or we can actually acknowledge and recognize that we are all of the same in this heart space. We're moved by the same connection. We share that same feeling of openness, of love. Teilhard de Chardin said this: the day will come after harnessing space, the winds, the tide, and gravitation. We shall harness for God the energies of love. On that day, for the second time in history, we shall have discovered fire. So the light is the fire in our heart, the love that is shared by all, even in those that we claim to be our enemies. They are moved by the light of their heart. And to remember the humanity of all, and to allow ourselves to connect from that place. To be with people in a real and genuine, open-hearted way will change the world. If I am kind, then those that I am kind to are having an opportunity to reflect that kindness. So that's how we change the world. Not through politicians, not through war. We change the world through one connection at a time, one heart-opening opportunity at a time. Because there is that fire. There is that divine tool. And yes, so often we use our tool awkwardly. We're learning. We're learning how to be in love with everyone we encounter. It's not a skill that we are often trained in. But that's what's so wonderful about this practice and this philosophy. It's because we're light in training. We're love in training. And it's not necessarily easy. You too. I am because you are. It's the same concept as namaste. So namaste. I'd invite the practitioners and the minister to join with me as we pray together from that place of an open heart, which is the gift of the season. place where God and the awareness of God resides for each one of us. So I give thanks at this time of light and celebration of light, that my awareness is more acute, more deeply, richly visible. To know that I am God made manifest, and my heart reflects that truth. At this time of light, I allow my heart to be open, to connect in deep, rich, powerful ways with others. And I know that that place of heart open love, attention, is the power that can heal the world. One person touching 2 people, touching 4 people, to the multiplier of infinity. And all that we judge that is amiss and wrong is caused from a forgetfulness, caused from a heart that perhaps is trying to shield itself from pain. And I acknowledge that that never works. What heals is an open heart, a fearless, fierce heart that stays available in love. So I call forth in each one of us this day to walk fearlessly in the world with a heart that's available and open and shining light. And one by one, our lights mix and intermingle. And peace fills me and fills the world. Peace is possible because I feel it, I know it, and I celebrate it. So with gratitude, I give thanks. I give thanks for the presence of each one of us, and I give thanks for the presence of an open heart. I know it is good, and I invite you to celebrate that with me by saying, and so it is.